Why was Grandma outside my house at 5:30 a.m.? My neighbor called. My parents had left her here to move my younger brother and his family into their place instead. My family broke for good on a cold morning, shattered by betrayal so unbelievable. It still makes my blood run cold. What started with a vibrating phone at 5:30 a.m. quickly unraveled a web of cruelty, revealing exactly who my parents truly were. I'm Tamara, 35, and that morning my phone vibrating itself right off the nightstand. I just groaned, swatted at it, mumbled a sleepy hello. Tamara, a careful voice said. It was Bruce, my neighbor. I think your grandma is sitting outside your gate. The words just slid. They didn't stick. What? I blinked into the dark, confused. Sitting outside? Bruce said she'd been there about 20 minutes, 2 bags beside her, just on the ground. A cold, sharp dread rushed through me, like someone had thrown open a door inside my chest. Are you sure it's my grandma? I asked, already scrambling up. You're sure? He'd seen her before, he said. It was her. She hadn't moved. I hung up, no goodbye. I was out of bed and halfway into a hoodie when my boyfriend, Evan, stirred. Tam. His voice was thick with sleep. What's wrong? My grandma's outside, I gasped, fumbling with my shoes. She's just sitting on the ground by the gate. That woke him. Fully. He was behind me in seconds. No questions, no hesitation. When we opened the front door, the brutal cold slapped us awake. And there she was, Grandma Lorraine, 75 years old, sitting on the freezing concrete like she was waiting for a bus that would never come. 2 old suitcases sat beside her, one with a folded piece of paper jammed into the handle. She wasn't crying. She wasn't yelling. She was just staring at the ground, face pale, hand shaking so hard it physically hurt to watch. Grandma! I cried, rushing to her. What are you doing out here? She didn't answer. I crouched, my fingers brushing her arm. It was ice cold, that bone-deep kind of cold. Oh my God, I whispered. Behind me, Evan was already turning back inside, cranking the heat and grabbing blankets. Together, we helped Grandma up and guided her into the house. Every joint protested. She moved so slowly. I picked up the suitcases, the folded paper feeling oddly heavy in my hand. We wrapped Grandma in blankets on the couch. Evan sat beside her, gently rubbing her back. She still hadn't said a word. My hands shaking, I unfolded the paper. For simple lines, no names, no explanation. Just this, we figured this was best. Please understand. That was it. My stomach dropped like a stone. My parents did this. My hands trembled as I walked to the security monitor by the door, scrubbing back to 5 a.m. The footage loaded. My dad's SUV pulled up quietly. He got out first. My mom followed. They opened the back seat, helped Grandma out, placed her bags beside her. No hug. No knocking on my door. They got back in the car, and they drove away. Just drove away. Something settled in my chest then. Not loud, explosive anger, but a cold, heavy fury that sank in, deep, and promised it would never leave. I called my dad. No answer. Called again. Nothing. My mom's phone went straight to voicemail. I paced the living room, my phone buzzing uselessly in my hand until Grandma finally spoke. I'm sorry for showing up like this, Tammy, she said softly. I didn't mean to bother you. My throat tightened. No, you are not bothering anyone. Evan nodded, his voice firm. You are always welcome here, Grandma. I sat across from her. Why didn't you knock or call? She looked down at her hands. Didn't want to wake anyone. I figured someone would come out eventually. Eventually. I swallowed. Did they say why they dropped you off? She hesitated, then nodded. Last night, your father packed my things. He said, your brother and his wife are moving in. The baby needs space. That's it. I asked aghast. No warning. She shook her head. He said it wouldn't be forever. And they left you outside, I said quietly, the words feeling like ice. In the cold. She didn't answer, just looked away. After a while, she whispered, "I didn't want to be a burden." "Don't," I said sharply. "Don't ever say that." The house felt wrong after that. Too quiet, too warm, considering the cold she'd been sitting in. When the sun finally rose, it didn't feel like a new day at all. Evan looked at me. "What do you want to do?" "We're going over there," I said, my voice steel. "Today. I want answers." Grandma looked nervous. "I don't want to fight." "I know," I said gently, "but you didn't start this." We helped her into the car and drove toward my parents' house. As we turned into their neighborhood, I saw it, a white moving truck parked out front. My younger brother stood beside it, laughing with his wife like it was a celebration. The anger that had been simmering all morning started to boil. I parked up the street, not because I had to, but because I truly didn't trust myself not to do something reckless. We walked toward the house, slowly, Grandma between us. My brother noticed first. His smug smirk vanished when he saw her. His wife's face dropped. Neither of them said a word. Inside, through the window, my parents sat like nothing was happening, like my grandmother hadn't been left on freezing concrete before dawn. I kept walking. Whatever was waiting inside that house, it wasn't going to stay quiet anymore. The front door was unlocked. That detail hit me harder than it should have. They hadn't even bothered to lock up after dumping Grandma. Like luggage. Like business as usual. I didn't knock. I opened the door and walked in with Grandma between Evan and me. Her steps were small, careful, like she didn't want to scuff the floor of a house she'd lived in for years. My parents were in the living room. My dad sat in his recliner, coffee mug in hand, the TV murmuring some morning news show. My mom was at the dining table, scrolling on her phone, like it was any other peaceful morning. No panic, no urgency, no shame. I didn't say hello. "You dumped her at my gate," I said, my voice steady in a way that surprised even me. Like she was garbage. My dad looked up slowly. No shock, no guilt. Just that flat, assessing stare he used when I was a kid and hadn't done something the way he liked. "Right," he said. "She's staying with you now, isn't she? What's the problem?" Something cracked in my jaw. I clenched it so hard it hurt. "The problem," I said, each word sharp and cutting, "is that you left her outside in the freezing cold at 5:30 in the damn morning." My mom set her coffee down with a sigh, dramatic, like she was the one being inconvenienced. "Tomorrow, we're not doing this." "Doing what?" I shot back. "Calling you out." "We had no choice," she said quickly. "The house is too crowded." No choice. I turned toward my brother, who was standing near the hallway, arms crossed, watching like this was a show. "You couldn't stay in a hotel? An Airbnb? Rent a room for a few weeks?" He shrugged. Actually shrugged. "I'm not blowing money on rent when we can stay here for free," he said. "It's family." Family. I repeated, letting the words sit there, rotten. "That's what this is about." My mom leaned forward, her voice taking on that sickly sweet tone she used when she thought she was being perfectly reasonable. "They just had a baby, Tamara. You know how stressful that is. They needed stability. And Grandma didn't." I asked. She waved her hand, dismissively. "She's a lot these days." Evan blinked. "A lot." My mom continued, oblivious. "The noise. The TV too loud. She forgets things. Leaves the stove on. We were starting to worry about fire hazards." I stared at her, stunned. "So, you abandoned her in the cold?" "We were doing her a favor," my mom said briskly. "You have more space anyway." I couldn't even find words for a second. "You think leaving your own mother-in-law on concrete before sunrise is a favor?" My dad finally spoke again, his voice hardening. "We're not going to be judged for making a hard decision. It's not like we threw her on the street. She's with you." "You didn't even knock," Evan said quietly. That's when my brother's wife spoke up for the first time. Her voice soft, careful. "I wanted to call," she said. "I told them we should call, but they said you'd understand." I turned on my brother. You just stood by and let this happen. He rolled his eyes. You're being dramatic. Dramatic. I seethed. She wasn't happy here anyway, he went on. She complains all the time. She's stuck in the past. Everything is when your grandfather was alive. It gets old. I looked at him like I didn't recognize him. She gave up her retirement to help raise us, I said, my voice cracking. She paid your college deposit when Dad said he couldn't afford it. Grandma's fingers tightened around the strap of her purse. She didn't say anything. She didn't defend herself. She just stood there, shrinking. My brother scoffed. That doesn't mean she gets to control the house, he added, almost as an afterthought. She was making my wife uncomfortable. His wife stiffened, but didn't deny it. That did it. You all make me sick, I said. My dad stood up slowly. Watch your mouth. No, Evan said, stepping slightly in front of Grandma. You watch yours. You dumped your own mother because your golden boy needed room for a crib. My mom crossed her arms. We did what was best for everyone. No, I said, my voice cold now, cutting through the silence. You did what was easiest for you. The room went thick and silent. My brother checked his watch. You done? We've got stuff to unpack. I took a step towards him without thinking. You don't get to act like this is normal. He shrugged again. It worked out. You're already taking care of her. I don't see the big deal. Grandma's voice cut through the room then, quiet but shaking. I didn't want to be a burden. I spun toward her. You're not. My mom sighed, like she was utterly exhausted by all of us. Sometimes, she said, looking straight at me, you outgrow things, people. That was the line, the one that broke something permanent. Evan stared at her. You outgrew your mother-in-law. My dad pointed at his door. Get out of my house right now, or I'm calling the police. I laughed. Actually laughed. You going to tell them you kicked your elderly mother out in freezing weather? Out, he barked. Evan gently took Grandma's arm. Let's go. We don't belong here. We turned toward the door. Not one of them stopped us. Not one apology. Not one hint of regret. As I opened the door, my mom called after us. Don't turn this into a moral crusade, Tamara. She's your responsibility now. I didn't look back. Gladly, I said. Outside. The moving truck beeped as it backed up the driveway, like nothing had happened. As I helped Grandma into the car, I looked at the house I grew up in. It didn't feel like home anymore. Just walls holding people who chose convenience over conscience. I shut the car door gently and took a deep breath. I'm filing a report, I said. Grandma blinked. You're what? I'm not letting this slide. She shook her head slowly. That'll make things worse. I met her eyes. They already did that. Evan nodded. We'll go today. Grandma looked away, conflicted. They'll say I'm tearing the family apart. I started the engine. If they cared about family, they wouldn't have left you outside before sunrise. As we pulled away, no one came running after us. They just let us go. And in that silence, I knew this wasn't over. It was just getting started. The police station smelled like old coffee and disinfectant. One of those places where the walls feel tired of listening to people explain how everything went wrong. I didn't sit down. I need to file an elder abandonment report, I said. That got attention. The officer behind the desk straightened, his eyes flicking from me to Evan, then to Grandma, who stood quietly at my side, her hands folded like she was trying to take up less space. He grabbed a clipboard and motioned us toward a side office. 10 minutes later, a detective walked in. Mid-50s, graying hair at the temples, eyes sharp enough to make you feel like lying would be pointless. He introduced himself as Detective Harris and sat across from us without rushing. Tell me exactly what happened, he said. So I did. I didn't dramatize it. I didn't soften it either. I told him about the 5:30 a.m. call, the security footage, the note shoved into the suitcase handle. Grandma's age, her medical conditions, the unanswered calls, the confrontation at my parents' house. Evan filled in details I forgot. Times exact wording, my brother's smug it worked out comment. When I finished, Detective Harris leaned back slightly. You said you have video footage? I slid the USB across the desk. He nodded once. Good. Then he said something I wasn't expecting. This doesn't look like just abandonment, he said. This looks like potential financial exploitation. My stomach tightened. What do you mean? If she's been financially supporting them, he said, glancing at Grandma, and they removed her without a care plan, notice, or medical consult. That's serious. He picked up the phone and made a call. 20 minutes later, a woman walked in. Late 30s, sharp eyes, all business. She introduced herself as Marissa from Adult Protective Services. As soon as she heard how Grandma had been left outside, her expression hardened. That could have killed her, she said flatly. You're telling me they made no arrangements? No call? Nothing, I said. She nodded once. We're escalating this. Grandma looked nervous. I don't want trouble. Marissa turned to her gently. You didn't cause trouble, ma'am. You survived it. By the time we left, a wellness check was scheduled for our home, and a preliminary hearing date was already being discussed. Outside, Evan let out a slow breath. You okay? I nodded. I'm clear. That night, I blocked my parents' numbers. Not out of fear, but out of control. The next morning, the messages started anyway, from new numbers. You're destroying this family. You'll regret this. I screenshot every single one and added them to my growing file. One message finally got a response. You'll regret underestimating me, I typed. Then I blocked that number, too. The week passed fast. Grandma settled into her home like she'd always belonged. She laughed with Evan over bad daytime TV. She taught me how she used to stretch soup to last 3 days. One evening, while Evan was washing dishes, Grandma said quietly, they said I was forgetful. I looked up. I never left the stove on, she added. Not once. I felt something heavy and sad settle in my chest. I let them think I was slipping, she said. It made things quieter. They stopped asking me for more. I didn't know whether to admire her or cry. Tuesday came. The courthouse was colder than the station. Hard benches, hard faces. My parents sat together, stiff and pale. My brother slouched beside them, arms crossed, looking bored. The judge entered, older, sharp-eyed, clearly with no patience for nonsense. I stood when asked, my voice calm. They dropped my grandmother off outside my home before sunrise, I said. No call, no knock. She sat there for 45 minutes in freezing temperatures. I handed over the note, the USB, the call logs. The judge nodded slowly. RG. My mom cried right on cue. We just wanted what was best, she sniffled. She was becoming difficult. The judge cut her off. Did you give legal notice? No. Medical consultation? No. Alternative housing plan? No, my dad stood. We were relocating her to a more appropriate home. The judge looked at him. You abandoned her. Silence. Then came the financial review. Monthly transfers. 3 years. No receipts. The judge's expression darkened. You drained her fixed income, he said, his voice hard, then discarded her. The ruling was swift. Guilty. Fines, probation, restrictions. Grandma was granted permanent residency with me. My father snapped. You raised a snake, he spat at Grandma. She stood slowly. I raised a woman standing next to me, she said, her voice clear and strong. You raised yourself into a corner. Court adjourned. That night, Grandma asked us to sit down. She handed me an envelope. I didn't tell anyone, she said calmly, because I wanted to see who would choose me when I had nothing. I opened it. Deeds. Accounts. Legal documents. Her net worth stared back at me. $51 million. Evan went completely still. Grandma smiled faintly. Now you know. And I realized the real reckoning hadn't even begun yet. For a long moment, none of us spoke. The papers lay spread across the coffee table. Deeds, account summaries, legal documents so clean and orderly they felt unreal. I kept waiting for the number to change when I blinked. $51 million. Not joint, not shared, all hers. Grandma Lorraine sat back against the couch cushions, hands folded neatly in her lap, watching my face like she was studying a weather report. I sold the land my sister left me years ago, she said calmly. That restaurant I worked at, I own part of it. Silent share. I never told your father. He would have drained it dry. Evan finally found his voice. All this time. She nodded. Everything's under my maiden name. Different bank, P.O. box. I kept the paperwork out of the house. No bitterness, no pride, just facts. Then she slid another folder toward me. I remember you and Evan joking about opening something peaceful by the water someday. She said, you're now the legal owners of a small coastal resort in Monterey. 50 rooms, a spa. It's yours if you want it. My hand shook. This is real. I asked, my voice barely a whisper. More real than the people who raised your brother, she replied, a faint, knowing smile on her lips. We didn't celebrate. We didn't cry. We just sat there, letting the meaning settle. Not the money itself, but the choice behind it. She'd watched. She'd waited. And now she was rewarding what she saw. I don't want praise, she added quietly. I just want to rest, and I want my money to go to people who wouldn't trade me for a guest bedroom. I reached across the table and covered her hand. You're safe here. That weekend, Evan and I drove to Monterey alone. The place was quiet, well-kept, run by a retired couple who cared more about the garden and the reading room than profit margins. We didn't talk about quitting our jobs right away. We talked about patience, running things slowly, carefully, the way Grandma had lived her life. The mistake came later. An innocent photo Evan posted of the ocean view from the resort. By Saturday morning, the doorbell rang. I checked the camera. My mom stood there holding a pie. Behind her, my dad and my brother, dressed like they were headed to church. My brother was wearing slacks. Actual slacks. Evan appeared behind me. Grandma stood at the end of the hallway, arms crossed. Can we come in? My mom called brightly. We just want to reconnect. Reconnect. Grandma stepped forward before I could speak. You didn't care when I was freezing on a sidewalk, she said calmly, but now you want to reconnect. Silence. You can keep the pie, she added, but the door stays closed. I shut it. Firm. Clean. Final. That Monday morning, I filed for a household restraining order. No warnings. No texts. Every name that mattered went on it. Mine. Evan's. 2 days later, the sheriff delivered it in person. No contact. No loitering. No accidental drop-offs. It wasn't revenge. It was control. That same week, someone unexpected showed up. My brother's wife. Alone. Baby on her hip. No bags. No performance. I'm not here for money, she said quickly. I just needed to say I'm sorry. She looked Grandma in the eye. I was scared. I should have spoken up. Grandma studied her for a long moment. And if I'd frozen to death? She asked. The woman swallowed. I don't know if I'd forgive myself. Grandma nodded once. That's enough honesty for today, she said. Leave your number. If the baby ever needs something important, just the baby, I'll help. She paused. But don't come back again. The door closed gently behind her. That night, Grandma called our attorney. Let's finalize everything, she said. I'm ready. The will was rewritten under supervision. I was named primary beneficiary, Evan included. An education trust for the baby. A supervised fund for the brother's child. Parents removed entirely. My brother received nothing. And a final clause. Anyone who contested would forfeit their share to charity. Clean. Sharp. Unarguable. 2 weeks later, my brother tried to challenge her capacity. It was dismissed in 5 days. The apologies came after that. Letters. Voicemails. Invitations to heal. I shredded them all. Grandma never asked to see them. She didn't want reconciliation. She wanted peace. Now she sits on the porch every evening, her coffee a little too strong, her pancakes a little too thin, watching the sky darken without checking over her shoulder. She handed me a sealed envelope last week. "Open it when I'm gone," she said. I nodded. Because we already have everything that matters. Stability, safety, a family built on choice, not obligation. And the ones who couldn't show up? Well, they'll have to live with that.